Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
What's up? This is El Presidente.
This is your boy, gospel icon, my Harold Peoples Jr.
It's Lady, also known as Leah, and you're now watching.
And you're listening to Speaking Plain English.
And the Speaking Plain English with your host Roberta.
Your beautiful host, Roberta Johnson.
With my homegirl, Roberta, on Praise.fm.
On Praise FM.
On Praise FM.
Hey, good afternoon. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Speaking Plain English. Happy Saturday. I am your host, Roberta, and I am excited. I am so excited. I am excited. I am so excited. I am very, very excited. If you see the title of the show today, it is, well, today, it's not today, but Monday is my Earth entry anniversary. And yes, I do know that, I usually do them week to week, do the birthdays week to week, but this is my show, so I can skip ahead if I want. So I'm just messing with y'all. So again, hi, I just want to say hello and welcome to all of you who are viewing. I'm going to ask that you do your liking and your subscribing and your sharing. Yes, still going to ask you to do that today. What else? I want to welcome all of our viewers. If you're here, please say hello. I want to welcome our Praise FM viewers. I want to welcome our YouTube viewers, Instagram. I didn't think we were going to do IG today, but hey, we're here. Who else? Facebook. Welcome. And I said Praise FM. Roberta's recommendations. Welcome to y'all as well. All of the audio only listeners, welcome. And thank you guys again for sticking it out with me. Thank you guys again for being here with me on this Saturday for today's episode. Like I said, I'm going to ask you to do the liking and the subscribing and the sharing if you have not already done so. What else do I usually ask you guys to do? Yes. Announcement things and things like that as to, just to do my norm. If you are a Black author, artist, or business owner, and you have a product that you would like to be promoted onto the show, you want an ad placed or anything like that, we are able to do that for you. So you can leave a comment, leave a message in the DMs or what is it called? Messenger. However you want to do it, or you can send an email to doyh.marketing@gmail.com so that we can kind of get you in there, see what you need, what you need, what you would like done. Also, if you are in any of those categories or not, and you have an idea for an episode, or you would like to be a guest on the show, do the same thing. You can let us know. We'd love to hear from you and to see what we can do to get you on here. We are all about just about anything, not just talking about, but trying to find solutions to so many different topics, so many different things that people may call taboo. And I'm going to say, can I say nothing is off the table? I want to say nothing is off the table as far as conversation goes. Yeah, I think I am. I think I'm going to say nothing is off the table because I can't think at this moment of anything that would not be on the table. So yeah, nothing is off the table as far as conversation goes. So if you have any ideas or anything that you wanted to to share, or you want to, an idea that you want us to talk about, or find some, get some clarity on and things like that. That's what we're here. That's what we're all about. Because like I said, there are some topics that a lot of people don't want to touch that we're going to tap into. I'm still getting some of those people together to do to make sure that I do this justice, because I don't want to just be on here giving my opinion. I want to make sure that I have people who are actually, in the fields, in the different fields, or are experts, or professionals in those areas. But I'm excited. I am very, very excited for what it is to come in these in this year. Honestly, in this year, as far as speaking plain English goes, as far as a lot goes, we'll get into that a little later. What else? What else? What else? What else? I think that is all. Oh, if you have a shout out that you would like to do, if somebody is celebrating an anniversary, or celebrating the start of a new business, or their birthday, like I like to call Earth Entry Anniversary, and you want them to have a special shout out, contact me as well, and we will, I'll work something out for you to make it real nice and real special for them. Or just to say hello, just to let somebody know that you're thinking about them. Because sometimes people need to know that. Sometimes people just need to hear, or they need to see, somebody just thought about them. All right. So speaking of which, I'm upset with myself because I did not write down this week's Earth Entry anniversaries, but I do know one for this week, which is I call him Deacon, but Frankie Wells. He was one of the members of when I used to sing background with Shay Norman. He sang with us. He was one of the background singers. Amazing, awesome voice. And we have an ongoing joke. We have an ongoing joke. I don't know if he's watching, but happy Earth Entry anniversary to you. His birthday was this week. And just an ongoing joke that we have, because we ended up going, this was when I lived in Memphis. We went to, and I didn't even know he was coming, but I ended up going to some church for some kind of event. Don't remember what it was for, but I found myself sitting in the car. Don't even know why, but I did. I was sitting there. And he happened to actually, well, before that, there was a guy that came up to me, young man came up to me and asked me if I had, he gave me, a story, a scenario, saying that he had AIDS. I believe he was sick. He had AIDS and he needed to go into the men's homeless shelter, but they were charging $7.50 for him to go in. And if he didn't have that he wasn't going to be able to be let in. And I'm like, sorry, I don't have it. And I didn't have it. So he tells me, when I told that he didn't have it, he goes, "You're not saved." And I'm like, okay, all right. So not too much longer later, Frankie pulled up he pulled up his car, like not too far, like a space away from mine. And the same guy came around, and I told him, gave him the same story, and I'm sitting here watching him. I'm sitting here watching the whole thing go down, and I'm trying to kind of mouth to Frankie like, "Yo, he just did the same thing to me." And then he told him, he was like, "Sorry, dude, I ain't got it." And the guy turns around and goes, "You ain't saved either." So basically, we equated that to the understanding that in order for us to be saved, and in order for us to make it to heaven, we have to have $7.50 on us at all times. That is our heaven's gates entry fee. In order for it, so that's just been an ongoing joke we've had since then. So at that, happy Earth Entry anniversary to you, dude. And that's that for as far as announcements go. So listen, like I said, today's topic, as you can see, is chapter 42. I like to call it chapter 42 because on Monday, the 20th, I will be turning 42. And as people don't like to, some women are like, they don't like to tell their age. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, I actually kind of look like it right now. And I don't know if I'm happy about that. Let me see if I take these off. No, won't make no difference. Whatever the case may be, and plus I couldn't see, so I need to see y'all. But I just wanted to take this. I don't like to toot my own horn a lot or anything like that, but I just wanted to kind of like share some things that I've learned over the course of from last year up until this year. I'm gonna go back a couple of years actually, and remember when I turned 40. I was kind of I was it then? I'm trying to think if it was then or if it was last year. But I know that it was a few days, like a week before my actual birthday, um, either 40 or 41. Don't remember. But I started to feel layers of I don't care. No, not layers, but I started to feel myself starting to get the attitude of I don't care. And when I say I don't care, I don't mean like, I don't care about anybody, I don't care about this, I don't care about, I don't care meaning I'm going to do what it is that I was placed on this earth to do, regardless of who approves or who does not. And I don't care who has anything to say about it. And I'm starting to feel that more and more as each year approaches. Um, Somebody who's watching, anybody who's watching is in your 40s or over 40s, is that a thing? I just wanted to know if that's a thing. Do you notice that you and thank you for everybody who's watching. Do you start to notice that you get the sense of, man, forget what everybody else got to say. I don't want to, I'm not arguing with nobody. You feel a certain way about it. I don't care. I'm just going to, and it's not as if to be arrogant. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of my peace is important. My peace is more important to me than just about anything else. If it's not something, and hear me good. I'm not saying that everything is always going to be, being happy all the time. And I'm not always going to be, I'm not going to be faced with challenges and things like that. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to agree with everybody or I'm expecting everybody to even agree with me. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I'm finding myself reaching a place in life where it's like, we have a choice. You know what I mean? We have a choice to who we give our attention to what we give our attention to. I'm starting to have very, very little tolerance for nonsense. In plain and simple. Low tolerance for nonsense. I never really liked nonsense like that anyway, but I'm finding myself as I get older, I don't like to be around anything and anybody who is, around talking about people or um talking, being negative all the time. I have no my tolerance for that is low, very low. And I understand that sometimes people need to vent, and I understand that sometimes people need to share, and sometimes people need to are they're looking for advice or they're wanting help. That's all fine. If you're somebody who is going through a situation and you want to talk about it, you're looking for advice about it, then cool. You know what I mean? And you want to get to solutions and stuff like that, cool. I'm with you. I feel you. I have moments like that. You know what I mean? Goodness. Thank you so much, Niecy. How are you? Thank you so much for watching. I love you too. Oh my goodness, you're about to get me to crying. This is the sister of one of the most wonderful people I have ever met in my life. Stacy Jackson. She's my godmother. She was my godmother, and there's so much I can say about her. But this is her sister, and I thank you so much, Auntie, for popping on. Oh, that just put me somewhere. That just put me somewhere. But anyway, like I said, hey, cuz, like I said, this is one of the things that I'm okay with. Thank you, love you too. One of the things that I just cannot do anymore of, and I'm okay with like I said, if you have something going on, and sometimes I have things going on as well. And I'm not gonna lie, there are times when it's like, you know what, let me sit in my moment for a while. Let me sit and have my moment. But at the same time, I don't want to stay there. You know what I mean? I don't want to stay wallowing in sorrow. Pity parties, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. If you're somebody who's about forward movement, we're good. If you're somebody who is about finding solutions, acknowledging the truth about things, I'm trying to think if to say if I can say that I've always been the type of person, but I don't know. I like to get to the bottom of things. You know what I mean? I like to address things, and put them out in the forefront and have conversations about it. Hey, Marshette, thank you. Um, I like to have conversations about it, and I like to just be honest and get it all out. You know what I mean? Especially if it's something that means something to me, or somebody that means something to me. If there is, I've been seeing this thing lately. I've been seeing this whole thing lately where people are like, if you feeling, if somebody is giving you weird energy, then keep it moving. I've seen that several times, and I'm like, I don't agree with that all the way. I don't agree with that all the way. And the reason why I say that is because my thing is, listen, you never know whether or not the situation is, or the person, you never know how the other person is feeling. I'll put it like that. Sometimes there can be a misunderstanding and the other one may not know. So maybe, or they feel the same way. So if you never actually talk about it, if you never actually address it, then yeah, it's going to be weird. The energy is going to be weird. And if it's somebody who means something to you, I would say, listen, have the conversation. It's worth it. If the business relationship, if the, whatever, the friendship, if the marriage, if whatever it is worth it, if it's worth having to you, much thank you. No, I have no date. I do not. But thank you. Listen, sometimes you just gotta feel good. Sometimes I feel like there's nothing like getting a fresh retwist. Nothing like getting a fresh retwist. I'll tell you that. And some pearls. Shout out to my sister, shout out for Bling Beauties. I'm trying to think if I got any of these from her or if I got it from when I was, whatever the case may be, any of this stuff. If you like this stuff, you can get it from John. $5 each, mind you. So where was I? Oh, so yeah. Sometimes like I think that if the person is important enough to you, if they mean something to you, their how they feel, their opinion, their feelings should mean something enough to the point where you want to kind of like, you know, figure out, okay, how can we fix this? If there's something strange, if there's something weird, if you're feeling weird about it, and this is part of, what I've learned for this year, but I'm still learning. I'll put it like that. If it's meaningful to you, if the person is meaningful to you, if the situation is meaningful, if the relationship is meaningful to you, I'm hot. If it's meaningful to you, the best thing to do, honestly, thank you, son, is to have a conversation. Is to talk about it. Is to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Why is it that why am I the only one that's feeling this way? Number one, am I the only one that's feeling this kind of this awkwardness? And if so, or if not, then let's talk about why I feel this way, or this is what I thought, this is my perception of, you know what I mean. Have a whole conversation about it, and then one of two outcomes will happen. One of two outcomes will happen. One, you can either find out that there was a misunderstanding somewhere and that somebody maybe have misinterpreted something, because you never know. People go through things, and sometimes we forget that we can't always expect people to be who we are to them. You know what I'm saying? Just because we have our thoughts about things doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is thinking the same way. Um that's just how I do. I like to to address things, and I'm like sometimes, and because the thing is, I'm an overthinker. And I'm working on that. I'm a real overthinker, and sometimes I will just think myself into like, is this really what that meant, or is this really this and the third? So what I'll do is I'll ask. I'll find out. I'll ask and I'll address it, and I'll be like, is this is what I got from this? Is this what was, if this was this the intention? So at the end of the day, what you'll find out, like I said, there's one of two things that you can find out. You can find out if there's a misunderstanding. It's like if somebody may have felt a way that they didn't, or they said something in a way that they may not have intended to. They may have been rushing and just trying to, address it or whatever. There's so many things that could have been a misconception, and it felt a certain way, and you're over here thinking about it, and they didn't already addressed it and left and forgot about it, and it's still bothering you. Say something. Or the second thing is clarity. And sometimes clarity means, okay, so this is really how you moving, and this is really what you about. That I know that it's time to take Chuck Deuces, and it's time to part ways. So, and it can be things like that can be done peacefully, mind you. Let's not always make things look like people cannot part ways on good terms. Mature people can. I'll put it like that. And Marchette says, if it's worth it, this is right on time. I have a situation right now where I've had to really ask the hard questions, and that it can be hard because one, you don't always want to, especially if you're like me, an overthinker. Don't you start, cousin. Don't you start. Ma, it's okay. It's all right if you're late. There's always the replay. Here we go. 42, a state of exodus, but forthcoming of entrance of divine doors. 4 equals completion, 2 equals double. We're not doing this today, sir. We're not doing this today. If y'all know the background story between my cousin and I, almost every time we speak something, God has. Ooh, and Marchette is here. Oh, Jesus. Okay, we're gonna end this early. We may end up ending this early because 2 out of 3. I'm gonna just say this, and this is one of the things that I'm learning. I have learned over the past year as well. Put a pin in that right quick. But just getting back to what I was saying just a minute ago, at the end of the day, communication is always the best. Communication is always the best because you want to know for sure what's what. Making assumptions, I mean, I don't care how well you know somebody. I don't care how well you know them. There can always be, it's always best to be clear. It's always best to make sure. If you're not sure, ask. If it feels weird, talk about it. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I've learned. Another thing that I've learned that it's, like I said, it's very, very interesting that these two here that are commenting the most, that are here at the same time, and I'm scared, is to make sure, like, and this is something that I've been learning, and I've been learning more and more as the years go by. But it is so vitally important to make sure that you are listening to God's voice when it comes to everything. 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 And when I say everything, I mean everything. I'm not even going to start listing, because I want to say that I've been through this journey. I've been on a journey over the past few years that God has had me like really, really paying close attention to a lot of different things. God I've been saying fine tuning my ear so that I can hear his voice. So I can hear him and hear him clearly. because there are things, and I've learned this. It was something that kind of struck out to me. Even in the in the scriptures, there are some times that God will have us do things that sound like, dude, are you serious? Like for real? Like this don't even sound right. But because we know His voice clearly, and that's why he did that. I'll say it like this. Um, the example that always comes to mind with me is Abraham. His walk with God was so close, and it had to be. It had to be that close, because if Abraham was unsure of who God is and that of his relationship with God, he would not recognize His voice. Just like, for example, I know my mother's voice. I know her voice so well that I don't have to hear her. I don't have to see her face. I know her well enough that if I was to hear her from a distance, I know it's her. So even if she was to give me some instructions that don't sound to me like something that she would say, I'd still know it's her speaking, because I know her voice that well. And because she's my mother, and because I know that she would never do anything to steer me wrong, even if the direction sounds strange, I would be like, okay, because I know my mom is not going to steer me wrong. Hey, Nikki. So with that being said, Abraham's relationship with God was that close, and it's not Eve. Well, listen, I say evening. I say good morning all throughout the day. It could be midnight, or it can be like 11 o'clock, and I'll say good morning. So anyway, but what Abraham did was he was so close to God. Like, he heard God's voice so clearly, and he communicated with Him so often, and he was so close to Him that him telling that God's instructions for him to go sacrifice his son was like, okay. It wasn't as if he was like, nah, this is not what I'm hearing. And the same with Noah. But I mean, I really, really, like, it hit me hard with Abraham, because it's like, how in the world, not how, but it's crazy how God can be, or we can be so close to Him that we can hear His voice and know His voice. And even if there's some kind of instructions um that He can give us that sound strange, like, think about it. Most people would be like, God is not going to tell me to go sacrifice my child, the son that He knows that I love, the son that I've been praying for. You know what I mean? What who I've been praying for, the son that I've been wanting, that for the longest of time. I know good and well God is not asking me to sacrifice him. And the crazy thing is, that's exactly what His instructions were. But Abraham did not hesitate, and Abraham did not, try to think, okay, am I hearing this right? If he did, the Bible didn't specify that. However, he made the motion to go do exactly what it was that God said to do, even though it sounded strange. So I say that to say this. It's so important that we understand and we know and we get so close. And God has been doing that. He has been giving me instructions, and He has been showing me things, and He's been telling me things and speaking things directly to me that I'm like, Lord, are you for real? And what it did was, it showed me that I need to get a little closer to Him. I need to get a little, because if I'm not sure that this is who I'm hearing, if I'm not 100% sure, because there are going to be things that He has going to have me do that I'm not going to have any time to doubt. Like, for example, I say this to my kids all the time. I tell them then they need to get into the habit of, as soon as I say do something, just do it right away. Don't stand there and ask me why, what happened, anything like that, because sometimes there could be a situation where we have to move, and we have to move right now. We don't have time to ask questions. We don't have time to figure out what's what. Just, I need you to do what I said and do it right now. So that's one thing. So um but they know, you know what I'm saying? They know my voice very well. They know my voice so clearly that they know that I'm not going to steer them in the wrong direction. So in situations like this, when it comes to God, it's so important that we, you know, and he's been working with me with that. And he's been making himself more and more clear as each year goes. And I'll sometimes doubt some of the things that I hear him say, because it's like, Lord, are you for real? Are you sure? Are you serious? Am I hearing you or am I hearing me? But the crazy thing is, it's not crazy, but the crazy thing is, because we want, and I've asked him, I said, God, I need you to make sure that I want to be sure, because what I don't want to do is move in a way that's not your will. Move in a way that I'm moving. I'm hearing something else. I'm hearing somebody else. And it's not really you. So I don't want to make any moves until I'm positively, absolutely sure it's you. But there are going to be certain things that God is going to place me in certain situations where I'm not going to have the time. I'm going to have to know that it's him telling me and move right then. So what he's been doing, he has been, like, I've been writing things down and I've been praying about stuff. It's even at the top of the year. And there are things that, like I said, two of the people that's on here have spoken directly to me and have made absolutely clear about me hearing what I thought. I'm like, okay, so I did hear correctly. Okay. And this is just 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. So, like I said, if the other one come on, we're ending the live. We're ending the live. All right. So before we go on to anywhere further, I am going to take a quick break, and we shall be right back.
Have you ever wanted to host your own inspirational radio show? Have you been called to inspire and spread God's word? Please contact Alicia Rain for more info.
This is the golden mic that everybody loves.
Let's go. Sorry.
I love Jesus. I worship and adore you.
Ready and I'm ready. Yeah.
Come over here.
I'm here. You.
Everybody went out mic.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Welcome back to Speaking Plain English. And basically the topic for today, I'm just, talking about my what I've learned what I've learned over the few years, from last year to this year, being that my birthday is on Monday. And like I said, I know I usually do from Sunday to Saturday, but this is my show. So I get to bend the rules if I want to for me. All right, what Cuz said. He said, fulfillment of the prophetic utterance, he is faithful and just to perform the manifestation of just the beginning, which is at 12 a.m. midnight. We decree and we declare, I shall not be otherwise, and shall not return void. Oh, Lord, Nikki. So that's the topic. It's okay for being late. Listen, this is the great thing about these lives. You can always go back and watch the replay. You can always go back and watch the replay. Yep, I did say midnight right before you. Man, I'm not doing this to y'all today. God also promised that Abraham's son would be one of the multitude. Exactly. So that's what I was thinking as well. So the whole thing with Abraham, that was one of the promises that God gave him. So it's like, hold on. If you're telling me that I was supposed to have, all of the generations were supposed to come through me, and that I would have as many, descendants as there were, stars in the sky. You know what I mean? How in the world are you telling me that? That's all. That was all the more reason for him to be like, ain't no way that God is telling me to do this. Ain't no way that God is telling me to sacrifice the son that my lineage is going to come. You know what I'm saying? it was supposed to originally come out of. Because remember, he did have other children that he wasn't necessarily. He had other children that did not come the way that they were supposed to. I'll put it like this. But they still had a purpose. They still ended up having a purpose. So that's how one way how God can take our what's the word? I don't want to call it a mess, but I don't even want to call it a mistake. How do I say this? It's the way that how God is able to take what we do in our own way, okay, how we are able to take, how can I say this? How we can take what it is that God wants us to do, but do it in our own way, because there are things that God wants for us. However, if we try to do it our way instead of his way, it's possible that we can still, get something, but it's not what it is exactly that he had for us. Because the only things that the way that things work out, and I'm talking, I'm getting, there's more stuff that I'm that's making more sense to me. God is so crazily awesome, I tell you. But sometimes we can do things. We can be promised things. God can promise us certain things. And because we have that promise from him, we try to do it our own way. We try to get it in the way that we want it. But what God can do and what he has done is take what it is that we decided to do in our own way and even use that and do something amazing with it, and do something absolutely amazing with it. But we still have to get back to his original promise, which is exactly what happened with Abraham, because he had the other kid with Sarah's maid, which is not who it is that God wanted. That wasn't his plan, but he still ended up, making something amazing from that whole situation. I'm sorry, y'all. If it seems like I'm drifting, I am. I'm drifting because I'm starting to understand certain things. Again, God is just amazingly awesome. One of these days I may have to write this down later, but God just opened my eyes to something that I had questioned. I questioned a while ago. And it makes so much sense now. It makes so much sense. But at the end of the day, God's best is still God's best. And what he wants for us is to do things his way. So even though we may have, done things that were not his way, he still has that plan. He still has that same plan for us. Man, even if it takes us long, even if it takes longer than the original plan. If we would have, just decided I'm just going to do this God's way and that's it, then we would have had more time, and we would have, we would have had more time and things would have been done sooner. Like, for example, when Moses led when Moses led the children of Israel to the promised land, it was supposed to have been a short journey, and that joint ended up taking generations for it to go, for them to reach where it is that God promised them. And the original people who were supposed to be there didn't even get to see it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe any of them did. I believe it was their children or their grandchildren. Mommy, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were supposed to have taken the trip. It was only supposed to have taken some days, a couple of months, I think. Only supposed to have taken a couple of months for them to get there, but it ended up turning into, I think, 40 years. And that means that there were some people who ended up missing out because they kept murmuring, they kept complaining, and they kept making the trip way longer than it needed to be. They wanted to do things their own way. They didn't want to 40 days turn into 40 years. Thanks, because they wanted to do things their own way, which prolonged the time that they would have ended up having. You know what I mean? And I'm learning that if we do things God's way, like regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how crazy or ridiculous or impossible it may seem, sometimes things don't happen the way that we want them to because it's saving us. It's saving us. Right. 40 days turning to 40 years. Thank you, Ma. Only 2 of the millions made it to the promised land. Moses didn't even get to go there because of his disobedience, because he got his directions straight from God, straight from God himself. And God told him directly, this is what I need you to do. And then he did something else. And God was like, okay, bet. Nope. You don't. You were so close, but no, you're not going to make it. I can't allow you because you decided to disobey me. So my thing is and it's a scary thing sometimes, because at the end of the day, my desire, and this is part of where the I don't care comes in. My desire is to do and have and to be everything that God has purposed for me, his way, in his timing. And if I've missed it because of my own disobedience, God redeemed the time. I'm asking God to, and the crazy thing is, one of the things that was mentioned to me is that God was going to align things back the way that they were supposed to be. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, for that, because I'm like, God, forgive me in my ignorance. Help me in my ignorance, because at the end of the day, it's not as if I was intentionally being rebellious. You know what I mean? It was a uncertainty in a thinking that I'm right in my own right, if that makes any sense. Thinking that this is how things are supposed to be because this is how I thought. This makes sense to me. I'll put it like that. This makes sense. And this is why this makes sense. And it doesn't matter if it makes logical sense to us, because the things that like it's even scripture, God uses oh my gosh, what is that? God uses the foolish things to confound the wise. I don't even know if that even ties into what I'm trying to say. Thank you, Cherise. But it's not today, it's Monday, but thank you. But sometimes the things that make sense to us is not what God wants to do, because there's no faith in that. There's no faith in doing things that make sense to us. Hi, Jules. How are you, huh? But that's just what it is. Sometimes things that make sense to us. Thank you, Cherie. And yes, I'm bedazzled on today. I'm bedazzling. But yeah, some of the things that may make sense to us is not what God wants us to do, because it's too logical, and because it'll be a thing of, I did this. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to explain what I mean by it in a minute. Sometimes, not even sometimes, God is so strategic, and God is so intelligent in his intentions for us, that the things that he wants us to do, he requires that we come to him for it. You know what I mean? We need to come to him for the direction and the know-how. Because if we try to do it within our own strategies and things like that, then 9 times out of 10 we'll do it incorrectly. And the reason for that is because we'll try to take the easy way out. We'll try to do things for the wrong motives. You know what I mean? So that's why God wants us to do things his way, because it is so it's part number one is part of building a relationship with him. It's part of us knowing that if he created us, that he knows exactly the path that I'm supposed to go, and he knows how I'm supposed to get there. So what I'm probably going to do, that's like the manufacturer building a car. If there's something going on with the vehicle, the best place to take it is to the place where it was manufactured, because they know the ins and outs of the vehicle, or they know the ins and outs of, well, I am talking about cars. Yeah, they know the ins and outs of the vehicle. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So once again, I'm going to mention this because y'all are asking. Anything that you see on me now, these, you can go to my sister, blingbeauties0.com. Go to her website, and if you may not see anything like this, you probably see something like this. Or you can just ask her. For if there's anything that if you don't see what you're looking for, then ask her. I'm sure she's got something that you like. All right, Shauna, I'll put in a plug for you. I'm not sure if she's even here. Thank you, but no, the number 0. Bling Beauties. Matter of fact, thank you so much. I'm gonna type it. BEAUTIES0.com. There we go. So yes, go to that website. That's where you can get your stuff. I think I did it right. You'll see in the comments later. But at the end of the day, y'all, it is such a it is so important, vitally important. Thank you, Sharice. Yes, God's way develops character, patience, and accountability. Exactly. And that's part of the reason why, and I'll just put it here. That's part of the reason why he wants us to come to him for the instructions and for the directions to do every and anything that he wants to do in us in this world, because he knows how it's supposed to get done, and he knows us so well that he knows what we can handle, and he knows how to push us to our limits. You know what I mean? And beyond our limits. And on top of that, he knows how to get us to do things in his strength. Like, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that I honestly, truly feel like I could not have done if I did not call on Jesus. And I'm serious about that. Honestly and truly. Hey, Monique. Honestly and truly. Like some of you may know about my story when it comes to, the birth of my daughter. Like we almost were out of here. Both of us were almost out of here. You hear me? Out of here. So, oh man, Sharice. So I've seen Bridget. I've seen it all, and I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not saying anything. Love you too. Thank you so much. Just with making everything, just as short and sweet as I can possibly make it. 25 weeks, I think Liberty was. Liberty was 25 weeks. And they were afraid that I was going to start seizing. So they were prepared. I was being prepared to have an emergency C-section when Liberty was just 25 weeks. what ended up happening was they gave me some magnesium to kind of calm my symptoms down. And they kept me in the hospital for a month and a half waiting for the symptoms to return. Day after day, for a month and a half, the doctor kept telling me over and over again, we've never seen a case where the result was the mother didn't have to deliver early. We've never seen that happen. So we need you to be here when your symptoms return, because this is the best place for the both of you. So we're trying to just buy time right now. That's why they kept me. Honey, yes, absolutely. Absolutely a miracle. So in that whole time, one of the last days that I spent there, I asked God, I said, okay, listen, if you are trying to do something to kind of like, baffle the doctors so that they know that this is you and not them, have them send me home, because I wanted to leave. I had been there for an hour and a half. My symptoms didn't return. I was feeling fine. My tests kept coming, we're all coming back normal. And they were testing me. They were keeping me because, like I said, every day the doctors told me every day that they were expecting their symptoms to return and they needed for me to be there. And it was never a situation that he's ever had where it didn't happen, this, that, and the third. I started watching the show The Resident, and I understand how I see how some of these doctors think what they think. And I see what happens to them too. Anyway, that was not a plug for the show, but if The Resident does want to sponsor me, by all means, or Bridgerton, by all means. But anyway, like the doctors were, the one doctor, he kept saying every day that he was waiting. It was never going to happen. There was never a time that he's ever experienced anybody, because I have preeclampsia, anybody having these symptoms and them not returning. So after a while, like I said, I prayed that prayer, and even the nurses were trying to figure out why I was still there. So they're like, why don't they send you home? And I'm like, I would love for them to do that. So I ended up, like I said, I prayed that prayer, and I want to say, I don't know if it was a couple of days or a week later. The doctor told me, I don't know. He said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you tests one more time. And if everything comes back good, then you can go home, as long as you promise to have weekly check-ins, weekly appointments, just to check on your progress. And then we'll schedule you to have a induction, to induce at 37 weeks. I'm like, fine with me. So we did the testing and everything came back fine. And the doctor said the very same word that I prayed. We're baffled by your progress. We've never seen this before. And he let me go home. So I tell you, and I say this that it is so vitally important that we understand who Jesus is. And that when we follow his lead, not saying that I'm not saying that there won't be any issues. I'm not saying that there won't be any trials. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any challenges, because there are. But the easiest and the most peaceful way to go about it is to go about it his way. That's why all of the instructions that he gave us to, all the things that he gave us to think about, you know what I mean? In Philippians 4, is it 7 and 8? Whatsoever is good, whatsoever is lovely, whatsoever is of good report. If it's even that goes for those who, go through anxiety, man. If we keep our mind on, like, he gives us the formula. He gives us the formula to try to keep our minds on what's good, what's lovely, what I'm saying? If there be any purpose, if there be any praise, think on these things. So try your hardest. And when your mind starts to go into a world of, and like I said, this is coming from somebody who's an overthinker, who's working on that. if I start to think about, and I'm not only am I, using the word of God, but I'm also using therapy as well. Yes, therapy, it helps. And I'm learning so much with the two that, again, yes, I start to acknowledge it. First of all, the acknowledgement is the first step. Acknowledging, man, I do overthink. I overthink a lot. And I don't want to do that. I absolutely do not want to do that at all. Because it's exhausting. It is absolutely, yes. It's exhausting. And especially when, you end up finding out like, yo, this isn't even what I was thinking. Hi, how are you? Thank you for watching. This isn't even what it was that I was thinking. You know what I mean? It's overwhelming as well. So who wants that? Who wants a life like that? I sure don't, and I don't like it. I like peace. Especially, like I said, the older that I'm getting, the more important peace is becoming to me. And so the best thing to do is to just follow what it is that God wants us to do. Follow his lead, follow his way. Think on these, think about certain things. Think about things that are, think about being positive. In other words, just plain and simple. Think about the positive. Think about your purpose. Think about the good. You know what I mean? Keep your mind there. Keep your mind there. And in doing that, it's keeping your mind in perfect peace. Because that's the when if we keep our minds on God and what it is that He wants us to think about, then He'll give us that peace. That makes absolutely no sense. That's what the peace that passes all understanding means. You know what I mean? I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Man, seriously, like that overthinking is no joke. It is no joke. Welcome from Brazil. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh my goodness. So, guys, I'm just going to take a really, really quick break one more time. I agree. It's got to be a doubtful thing to overthink like that because God says to trust Him. Exactly. So why be over here worried about things when He's already got it? He's already got it. And that's why it's so important for us to pay attention and to be close to Him, because once we hear His voice, once we know His voice, and once we hear Him and we know it's His voice and we do what it is that He designs us to do, the way that He wants us to do it, how He wants us to do it, nothing can overtake us. I'll put it like that. There can't be anything that can overtake us, because God is not out here to try to make us nuts. He's not out here to try to, to send us into panic attacks and anxiety attacks and anything like that. That's not His way. That's not who He is. What good does He have from doing that? Because let's like I say often, regardless of whether we follow His lead or not, He doesn't cease to be who He is. You feel me? He doesn't cease to be God just because we decide that we want to do things our way. So anything that He does, it's for our own benefit. Anything that He instructs us to do, it's for our own benefit. The battlefield of the mind, y'all. Word. Word. All right, so we're going to go to a break really quick, and we will be right back.
Tangipahoa Parish, get ready for Praise Fest NOLA, coming to Amite, Louisiana at the Greater Refuge Temple Ministries, 1005 Northwest Central Avenue, Amite, Louisiana. This event is being brought to you by Caesar Boys Entertainment in conjunction with Praise.fm. Hosted by Ricky Ricard of Double R Enterprises and E.J. Jerome. Special guests in the building, Raven, Trent Gaddison, Danielle Stevens, Joel Jones and 3MC, Pastor Sid J, William T. Stars, Adriana Munnings, Malik Oliver, Darryl Thomas, Ontario Showers, Sickerson, Janora Brown, and the GRTM Praise Team. Also, we'll be honoring Minstrel Appointed, founder of the Spin Awards, Mr. Doug Jackson of Unique Sounds, and a very special honoree. Red carpet begins at 6 p.m. and showtime begins at 7:15 p.m. This event is free to the public, so make your way down to Greater Refuge Temple Ministries, 1005 Northwest Central Avenue, Amite, Louisiana, where we plan to go up. In Jesus' name, hope to see you there. Be blessed.
All right, and we are back. So I'm about to wrap this up, y'all. I'm about to wrap this up again. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all for your well wishes. Thank you for tuning in with me. Thank you so much for just for chatting with me and talking back to me and for being here. I thank y'all for just for taking the time, because this is Saturday. Anybody can be doing anything, but y'all are here with me, and I appreciate that. Yes, that was Jay-Z. You could be anywhere in the world, but y'all are here with me, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, y'all, I am grateful for another year. I'm grateful for year 42. I'm grateful for all of the things that I am learning. I'm thankful for all that God has been doing, the good and the not so great, the things that are good for me that don't feel good, and the things that do. If I learned anything else this year, if I didn't learn anything else this year, within this 1 year, I'll put it like that, is I've learned to straight up, and maybe this is the same lesson from last year, but I'm learning it even more, not to second guess myself, and mainly not to second guess myself if I know that I'm doing what God wants me to do, if I'm following His direction, not to second guess that. That's where I've even even some of the accomplishments that I've done this year, that I have this year. I've put out my first. I put out last year or 2 years ago was the ebook that you guys can find on voyhmarketing.com, by the way. That was a couple of years ago. I think that was 2 years ago that I released that. This year, I released, along with my children, our first body of music, which is the introduction that you guys hear at the beginning of the show, as well as the outro that you'll hear. That was something that I have been wanting. It's not what I wanted, and I'm still working on other things, but it's something that I had always thought was just a good idea. Putting music out there and releasing music and creating music and putting it out. That's something that for the longest I just thought was a great idea, and not something that I actually would end up doing. I can remember the days where I sat and thought, man, I wish I could do that. And I can remember hearing the discouragement. And I'm just going to leave that like that. I remember hearing the discouragement, not just from me, but from somebody else that was basically trying to make me feel like I can't do this. I promise you. And that's why it's important for you. And another thing I'm learning is important. Be careful of who's in your ear. Be careful of who you allow in your ear. Be careful for who you allow to speak to you. If they're not speaking life to you, get rid of them. If they're not being honest with you, chuck the deuces. Because we don't have time. And I'm going to wrap it up here. We don't have time. We don't have time to live in a way that wastes any time. I'm not saying that, leisure and vacations and things are not needed, because they are. Rest is necessary. And we're not always going to do things to be productive in the way that, like putting our hands to something. We're going to need to do something, play a game, go sit by some water, go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? Take a day to do nothing, which is important. Rest is so important. Oh God, I learned that too. Rest is so important. Rest is so important. You are not alone. Thank you, Marshette. Do I play piano? Not yet. Not at least not fluently. I'll put it like that. I've learned. I'm learning. I'm learning. Time is not to be wasted. We don't have time. We have no time at all because listen, there is so much going on in this world, and there are so many people who are losing their minds. And I'm just grateful to God that I'm not one of them. And that's huge. I said to a friend of mine once, she was checking up on me and asking me, how I'm doing. And not yet. not that. I'm learning. I'm learning music on Duolingo. That's what I'm learning. But she asked me, how am I doing? And my response was, I said, I'm good. And I also said that I am, something along the lines of that I'm happy to say that I'm still in my right mind, because there was a time when I almost couldn't say that. So I'm grateful. Like when I say I'm grateful for things that so many people may consider insignificant, and I say a lot of times that I'm grateful for, when I pray, I thank God for food, for clothing, for shelter. Like all of that stuff is, a lot of people take that out and, take that for granted. But man, there are so many people who do not have that, the bare minimum. There are so many people who do not have their right mind. You feel me? And matter of fact, I'll say this. Sure will. The beginning of this month made 1 year that I've been in my own place. Because for 3 years, 3 years after, for 3 years, I was staying at my parents' house. I was in between couches. Yeah, I will. I've done Airbnbs. I was staying at hotels. I've even stayed in my car sometimes. Not even gonna lie. There were times when I went, and this is the first time I'm actually saying all of this, because this is why I say I am grateful. You hear me? When I say that, I am absolutely so 100% serious. I am grateful to have a roof over my head. And the thing is, one thing that I learned in that process was, even though I may have been sleeping in places that were not my own, I still had somewhere to sleep. You feel me? I was grateful in every single part of it. Yes, it was hard and it was exhausting. But because I'll say, and I'm trying to end this thing. I remember one day it was I wasn't far from my job, when I was working in the office. I remember one day there is I'm not sure if it was June but it was a nice night. It was a very nice night. And I was going to end up sleeping in the car this particular night. I got out and I did some walking and I sat on a bench and I said, God, I prayed this prayer and I was like, God, I will never forget it. I said, I know that you see what I'm dealing with. I know that it's not going to always be this way. I know that you've got a purpose and a plan for all of this. I know you do. I do not doubt you. I do not, I don't think that you're not existent. I don't think that you don't care. But I need you to hear me. I'm going through this, all of this, and I'm doing it, feeling every single bit of it. I didn't try to self-medicate. I didn't try to overdrink. I didn't try to, get myself drunk. Anything. I did not do anything to try to mask what I was feeling, because I felt that, one, if I did that, I would be here. I would be in this state longer. And one, because I trust you that much, that I wanted to make sure that if I'm going through this, I'm going through this your way. So you got to get me out of this. I know you will. I'd have no lack of faith in your capability. But dude, I'm going through this raw dog. And I'm feeling every single ounce of it. And I'm very close to losing it. I am very close to losing it. Sometimes you just got to be that honest with God and be straight up real with him. It's not, we can't keep living life, even especially those of us in church, acting like we don't ever have those moments, acting like things are never that difficult. Like we've always, we trust God with everything. Yes, I did. But it still hurt. And I still had to feel it. And I still had to go through it. You feel me? I still had to go through it. And one thing that I remember telling my mother, it hurts, but I'm going through it. I'm not stuck. That's what I said. I said, I'm not stuck, Mom. I'm not stuck. That's one of the things that I refused to do, was to be stuck. I understand the go through, and I'm great. I'm cool with going through it. I'm cool with the process. I'm cool with that. I'm good with that. I understand that there is a process that has to be gone through. I understand it. However, God understands that we still feel it. And I believe with everything within me that that was the start of things to move. I believe that was the beginning when things started to get better. No, the situation didn't change the next day. No, nothing miraculously fell out of the sky. I still had to keep going through the process and hearing and listening to his voice to know what to do next and when to do it. And now, no, this background is not my place. I like it though. So maybe that's the next. I do like it. But I am in my own. I am in my own. My name is on it. My children each have rooms of their own as well as I. God is faithful, y'all. He's faithful, like honestly and truly. And if I haven't learned anything else in this life, is to really, really trust him and do things his way. And I really think that we just need to get back to that. At the end of it all, we need to get back. Those of us who call ourselves Christ representatives, we need to get back to doing things God's way. You don't know until you live through it how much you'll take for granted, man. And I'm telling you the truth, it'll make you a firm believer, and you will learn to be grateful for the smallest things. Understand that it is a privilege and an honor. It is. It is. We see people every day, but God, Marshette, we see people every day who are going through so many things. I hate to bring this up. But even the situation going on with Diddy and Cassie, like what? I don't usually like to bring, hot topics and things, you know what I'm saying, into speaking plain English. I kind of like to make it a breath of fresh air from that. But that's one of the things that I'm grateful that she was able to make it out of that. I'm grateful to God that she was able to make it out of that, and that she now, yes, Marchette, yes, that's right. You said we'll talk, we'll talk. But I'm grateful that she was able to make it out of that, and that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say in regards to that, because I can only imagine the things that go through this girl's mind have gone through her mind. I'm grateful that I have never gone through anything that serious. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank y'all so much for hanging with me. Thank y'all so much for talking back to me. Thank y'all so much for all that you know, the encouragement, the prophetic words of confirmation, the I'm just grateful, y'all, and I'm full. I am. Hopefully we're not gonna have to go through this again next week. Well, next week I plan. Anyway, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. And thank God. Thank God. I thank you so much for another year. For another year. I'm claiming it now. Yes, I know we haven't made it there yet. It's not Monday yet, but I'm claiming it now because there's too much that he has left for me to do, so I ain't going nowhere. Regardless of who tries what. At the end of it all, I'm covered. I'm covered. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Speaking Plain English. Until next time.